Tim Phoenix, welcome. So are you a young SE leader? Have you been promoted into sales engineering management recently and you've never done this before? Well, then this could be beneficial for you. I want to show you 13 principles that you can follow to become more successful as a new or young sales engineering leader. This also includes book recommendations for you to go and follow up or start your journey. Any questions on that? Please come back to me, reach out to me via LinkedIn or here on YouTube. Okay, let's go into that. 13 principles, we're starting now. First, manage yourself. That's quite straightforward, right? If you can't manage yourself, how should you be able to serve your team? That's the core idea. But managing yourself is really finding out where do you spend your time, right? What are you doing to actually become more successful and carve out time for your team? My book recommendation here is Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's the Bible for personal development and time management and how to attack tasks, the mindset behind so that you literally generate time. All right, let's go into number 2. Develop a leader's routine. So what do I mean with that? So first of all, you should understand the status of your team. How are they doing? Who's in there? What are their challenges? Right? So how can you go forward with this team, develop them forward? And then, based on that, you have to plan your day daily. Then execute on the plan you did and adjust when things don't work. Right? So it's basically thinking of your team as a business. Right? And this means you need plans. For example, when you just start out, it's always helpful to say you have a 30, 60 or 90-day plan of how to attack your role. And the book recommendation here is a bit unusual, but I promise you it's worth the read. It's Unscripted from DeMarco. The book is basically about leaving your job and starting your own journey as an entrepreneur. But the tips in there are especially applicable if you treat your team as a business. So I highly recommend you to read this book and start there. Let's go to number 3. Observe your team members. I think that's an amazing tip. So if you start shadowing your team, you understand what your best individual contributors actually do to become successful. This knowledge you can then instill into the whole team, make it best practices, for example, right? So this is a big thing, and you should observe or shadow your team members as often as you can. The book that I'm recommending here is from the great Chris White, The 6 Habits of Highly Effective Sales Engineers. And of course, these practices can definitely help you in the long run, building your team, instilling the right skills and processes. Perfect. What about number 4? Serve your team. I mean, that's the thing, right? That's why you are in management, or that's why you're a leader. As a young leader, if you have been individual contributor before, you never needed the time to do that. Now you need, right? So what do you have to do? Remove roadblocks, right? Open doors, make growth possible, right? And most important of all, I think, make your team visible and be heard in the organization. Like, give them a seat at the table. That's essentially your job. The better you can actually create power around your team, show your successes, the more successful your team will be. Good. Serve your team, number 4. Culture, it's number 5. So what do I mean with culture? But culture is everything that actually lets people thrive, like that they want to be in this job, right? That they say, it's amazing what I do here and the freedom I may have, or the principles we actually live. So in sales engineering terms, you should set up the culture that is needed for your team and your organization. For example, that it is okay to push back on AEs or even clients, right? That you qualify opportunities out that you disqualify them. So, and that your SEs are part of deal strategy together with the account executives and maybe the greater or bigger account team, right? So also the culture means protect your team. Whenever they do failures or act on their own, try something new, please protect them. That's your job. You have to take this, right? So, and last but not least, what you also could do is develop an engagement plan, how your team makes your clients successful. If you want to know more about those, contact me please. I'm happy to talk about that. As a book recommendation, there's Sales Engineering Exposed. That's a short story that shows what makes actually sales engineers successful, because by overhearing a meeting that is going on, the reader learns a lot about sales engineering and how to become successful and how good culture looks like at the end. What is number 6? Number 6 is develop team habits. I mean, your team's habits, right? So just as an idea, there might be weekly one-on-ones with your team. That's pretty normal in leadership and management. So you should grow domain champions in your team. So what do I mean with that? Give them very specific tasks, responsibilities by dividing your industry into domains and let them become domain experts according to the product pieces you might have, right? So give them certain tasks, domain champions, very good things. Introduce therapy sessions. It sounds odd, but give them time to speak with each other and maybe to complain. Just get out all the steam that's in there, right? So that might be weekly sessions where no management is allowed and your team is just doing that to relax a bit, right? Celebrate success. That's very, very important, right? And this goes back to visibility. Like the success needs to be visible in the greater organization. Sharing resources is very important. Like if it's a demo, white paper, whatever it is, it needs to be shared. So be sure your team has a kind of container where all this knowledge resides. And then things like go-no-go meetings, right? Before going in a 3 days POC, it might make sense to introduce an organizational quality gate if this effort should be actually spent. Yeah? If the people really should do this, your team members. So another way to protect them, right? Develop team habits. If you want to know more about this, please contact me. There's a treasure trove of things you can do that I might be able to help you with. Good. What is number 7? Track KPIs. Well, pretty straightforward, right? So you want some numbers about your team so that if somebody asks you, especially management above you, or if you're going to QBRs to present the status of your team, you want KPIs like your close rates after POCs, RFPs, demos. Maybe you find out your close rates after RFPs is really bad, right? They never close, so you might really disqualify a lot of RFPs in the future, right? So your team becomes more successful because they have more time and don't spend time on useless RFPs. For example, the ratio of AESEs, right? Your quota per SE that they carry. Your hiring forecast, how many people will you need in the pipeline, right? So ask yourself what KPI actually affects the business most. Where can I, and this is from the Sales Engineering Manager Handbook, what makes the boat go faster, right? So that's what you should ask yourself. So read John Kerr's book. It's also treasure trove on that point. Let's go next. Number 8, develop empathy for your team. That might seem obvious, but I don't think it is. I've seen managers who weren't empathetic at all, right? And it's important, especially today when sales engineers are actually in demand, right? That your team is happy. What makes them happy is acknowledgement. So as a leader, acknowledge them, acknowledge their strengths, acknowledge their efforts, okay? Not only the success, things can fail, but acknowledge their effort in, for example, risk taking. A good book on that is Man's Search for Meaning. This book will generally change your mind. Right? By reading this book, you will become a better human and therefore a better sales engineer. Okay? I highly recommend to read this book. It's life-changing. Number 9, strive for team diversity. So think ethnicity, gender, age, but also, and this is something that I learned from one of the live streams with Wendy McHenry. She's a sales engineering leader. She told me that the background of the people is also diversity in that sense. So if you go out there and let your network actually find new candidates, that means you're growing like-minded people. So your team is not diverse in that sense because they're all from the same network, right? A book to start, and this was a hint from John Kerr, is The Culture Map by Aaron Meyer. So go for that. I haven't read it yet, but I trust John Kerr on his advice. Number 10, demo skill is valuable, but, and the but is important. Yes, please, demo skill, like you need to have it, okay? Let's put it that way. No question for an SE. But what you really need to have is discovery skills and the business acumen. What do I mean with that? I mean, discovery skill is not just asking questions, it's like having a self-confidence to have a normal conversation, maybe with a CXO, right? Anything on that level, or VP, and presenting business value. This is the business acumen, right? It's very, very important that you develop this as an organization if you want to actually crack the enterprise level. And it's, on top of that, it's not talking about technology, it's on the other end, right? So sales engineers, your team, they should be proficient in technology, yes, but they shouldn't talk about it. If there's a question on tech, there should become a short answer. Quick answer, yes, no, and maybe a sentence why. And then, but dear customer, why do you ask? What about your industries, XYZ trend, for example? How do you handle this, right? So go back on the business level. That's very, very important for the enterprise level deals. Number 11, connect with customers. You're no individual contributor anymore. Now you're on a manager level. So get to know your customers' leaders. That's important, yeah? And this way you can support your individual contributors on management level. Yeah? So build your network actually by rank matching. Don't support the PUC hands-on, but get in on the ranks above and make yourself visible, make your team visible, all things that will benefit your deals. So there's the Challenger Sale as a book that's highly recommended. Most of you might know this already. And what got you here won't get you there. A very, very, very good book with a very nice premise. Like, yes, as an individual contributor, you had a lot of traits and strengths that made you successful in your role as a sales engineer. But what got you there, right, won't get you here in that sense. So now as an SE leader, you need different skills. And that's the point of the book. And it will motivate you on going forward. Good. Number 12, be confident. And that's also a big point, right? Maybe you don't have like 20 years experience in the field, but some of your team members do have. But still, you have to offer value, or still you offer value actually. So it's in you. So because if you support them to win, yeah, to become successful, and if you are empathic, then you are giving something, right? If you unblock, right, that's the point. Be confident on that what you do as a leader is actually helping your team, right? And then you don't need to be intimidated by someone else's experience if you truly want to help them. A good book on that is Mindset. It's everything about growth versus fixed mindset, and it helps you understand how a coach, leader can develop a growth mindset to really grow in this role and to become successful and self-confident. Last but not least, be visible on social media, right? You have two tasks. you need to attract new talent for your organization and your team. And second, you need to be seen as a thought leader because you want to do rank matching, you want to join the realms of other leaders of your customers, right? So that's important here. So also go to market, of course. What does my company do to become successful in the market? Are we crafting a new category? What does that mean, right? All of this is important. So this is rule number 13. And my book tip here is The Social Sales Engineer, that will motivate you to go on this journey and give you hints and tips in a timeless way how to approach them. Good. So if you want to have this PDF for download, go on LinkedIn. I will add the link in the description. Get there, follow me, connect me, talk to me, please, and download the PDF. And if this was valuable for you, well, get in touch with me, right? We offer differentiating, motivating, and very educational trainings. And one of our key trainings is the hero's journey of the sales engineer. So let your team rise like a phoenix from the ashes, right? It's really that impactful because we mix coaching and training in a 4 to 12 weeks journey, depending on your appetite of training. I'm looking forward to hear from you and to get this set up for your team. It would be a huge pleasure, and I would love to work with you. Okay. Summary, the 13 principles for young SE leaders. First, manage yourself. Develop a leader's routine. Observe your team members. Serve your team. Shape culture. Foster team habits. Track KPIs. Develop empathy for your team. Strive for diversity. Shoot for more than demo skill. Connect with customers. Be confident and be visible on social media. It was a huge pleasure talking to you. Never forget, we sales engineers have the soul of a technician and the heart of a salesperson, right? So I'm looking forward to hear from you. I'm Patrick Pissang, CEO and lead trainer and author at Sales Hero. Follow the Little Phoenix, subscribe to our channel. See you soon, and I hope you enjoyed this little session. Bye-bye.